Now, as I told in previous video that language variation is a challenge in synthetic processing, how I am going to deal with the language variation. So for that purpose, I should not forget important concept, that is a cross language information retrieval, which is in short called as a CLIR. Means user is giving query in a particular language and my corpus is in another language. Then how this variation I am going to handle. Okay, for example, I am giving command using voice to my system to search a particular thing. Okay, and that command is given in a Hindi language, but my corpus is what? English corpus, means all the documents are stored in English language. Then how I am going to deal with this one? Now, what do you mean by cross language information retrieval? The process of retrieving relevant information from the documents that are written in a language which is different from the query language. Query language is different, document language is different. To deal with this variation, go for cross language information retrieval. Okay, in other words, CLIR allows a user to search for the information in one language and retrieve the documents that are written in another language. Okay, now what are the steps in CLIR? But before that, let us see how come CLIR is useful. Because throughout the globe, one language is not common. Throughout globe, many languages are spoken. Many type of users are referring your information retrieval system. Your information retrieval system should produce result to each user. It should be capable of handling user on any point of the globe. So, to deal with these variations, I need a CLIR. Now, this is the architecture of your CLIR. This user is typing the query in which language? As usual, English language. But my documents are stored in which language? Chinese language. Now, what the retrieval engine will do? Retrieval engine will retrieve the Chinese document. But on what basis? Will it retrieve all the documents to you? No. First, your English query should be translated to Chinese query. Then only the terms in this query will be matched with your documents, and then only the related Chinese documents I will return to the translation system, and again this translation system will translate my Chinese document into English documents, and these results I am obtaining in English language, and those results will be verified. The relevance of those documents with my query will be examined, and then only the user will give me the feedback of my IR. So this is what the architecture of CLIR. Now, what are the steps here? User is just posting the query. Will I go directly for search? No. What is the first step here? Translation. How I am going to do it? That is what known as a query translation. Listen, query translation is different from query expansion. Don't get confused with these two words. Okay. Now, what do you mean by query translation? The query is typically translated from user language into the languages of the documents being searched. Okay. Just find out your document, your database is in which language. Translate the user query into that language. Okay. And then how it is possible? By using the dictionary. Okay. The dictionary who knows both the languages. That is what called as a bilingual dictionary. Okay, or it can be possible using the machine translation. Okay, now for example, user queries in English as best programming languages for AI, but the documents in database are written in which language? Spanish, French or German. Now the query will be translated to these languages using either machine translation component or using the bilingual dictionary. The next step, document translation. This is another alternative. Means instead of translating your query, you can go for the document translation. Or after the query translation, you will retrieve the documents in those language only. Then you cannot return documents to the user in Chinese language. Those documents should be in English language, then only user will understand. So that's why I need the document translation. Okay. another approach is what? Translate the document into the language of user's query. Okay, that is what the results. You are translating your results into the user language. Okay, translate a document in French into the English to facilitate the retrieval. Okay, but as compared to your query translation, document translation is a time consuming process. Okay, it is a hectic process that you should remember. Now the next one is what? Yeah, the very important concept. Instead of going for your query translation or document translation, what I will do? I will go for the bilingual or multilingual indexing. Means what? For a particular English word, what are its equivalent terms in the Spanish, French or Japanese language that I will store in the form of index. Then what are the documents in my corpus which will refer these terms? Those documents number I will give in my table. Okay. Now for example, listen here. Document index will store the terms in all the languages and which will allow me the search in multiple languages. Okay, so this is a very important step, and this step will fasten your retrieval process. Okay, now the another option is what? A query expansion. As I told you, don't confuse with query translation and query expansion. In query translation, what I am doing, I will take the inputted query in one language and I will translate it in another language. But for query expansion, what I am doing, AI language. If this is my query, then I am going to expand it in all the languages. Okay, in French it is called as a intelligence artificially. Then in German it is called as a Sprachen der Künstliche Intelligenz, whatever it is. Okay, so all its equivalent in another languages, those terms when you add, you are going to expand your query, and that is known as a query expansion. Okay, now language identification. This is an important step. Okay, why it is important is unless and until I identify in which language the query is, I can't go for the translation, I can't go for the that indexing help, I can't go for the expansion. Okay, so you should be capable of handling that language. Okay, system should understand that language, system should have the appropriate technique for processing the documents and queries in that language. Okay, that is important. Now the next one is what? Cross language matching. Now what we are doing here, after translation or the query expansion, system compares the query with the documents to find out the relevant matches, and this is where the traditional information retrieval technique, yeah, that is what we have seen in unit 1, in which documents is represented, and in unit 2 how we are performing the term matching or how we are using the vector space model or probabilistic model, means the techniques for searching our data that we have to apply. Now what is the example of CLIR? Okay, imagine a researcher is looking for the papers on quantum computing but knows only the English language, and my database is in German and French language. Then how CLIR will be useful in this case? What will be the steps? The English term quantum computing should be converted into German and French. Either go for the translation or query expansion. Okay, then search those German and French documents based on the translated content or expanded content, and then return the results to the user. Now how you are returning results to the user? Your documents are in German and French language. Now here the concept of or the step document translation will come into account. Now user understand only English language. Now though you have translated your query or though you have expanded your query in German or French language, you will find out the related documents in German or French language only, but user is understanding which language? English language. Now again here translation phase will come into account. Okay, whatever are your retrieved documents, those results, those German and French documents should be converted into English with the help of the translation phase. Okay, and this enables the user to access the global knowledge and research even if they don't speak the languages in which contents are written. Yes. Now this will be specially useful for a researcher who want to know what is the research throughout the world on the area of quantum computing. Now that research, it is not compulsory that it should be performed in English language. It will be performed in any language. Okay, I want to know the level of that research. Then in that case, I should be capable of handling those documents, and that is possible using CLIR. Okay, so this is all about unit 3, in which we have seen what do you mean by parsing, how the meaning, that is the syntax, synthetic parsing is helpful in information retrieval, and how we are dealing with the problem of the language variation using CLIR, that is the cross language information retrieval. Thank you.